For those of you who may not know, I'm Sheriff Lombardo of the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. Today I'm going to give you an update where we currently are with the investigation, and then I'll give you some insight to where we're going with the investigation, and then I'll be happy to answer a small number of questions. Okay, so in the days since our last briefing, investigators from the MPD, along with many agents from the FBI and ATF, have continued working around the clock on the 1 October shooting. Today I'll provide you with some information, but mostly I hope to clarify or provide more updated information on some of the details that have been reported in the media. A number of you have already reported that the brother of the suspect is in town, and yes, he is. We are in contact with him, along with other family members. I will not discuss what came out of those interviews, but every piece of information we get is one more piece of the puzzle in this case. Last week we talked about the single person whose action helped pinpoint the location of the suspect, and that was the Mandalay Bay security guard Jesus Campos. As you might imagine, Mr. Campos was not only injured when he was fired upon, as he did his room check about the door alarm down the hall from the suspect's room, but he was also extremely shaken up by what happened to him. He was able to confirm for us exactly what he heard and saw in the moments before he was shot. Mary Lou Danley, the suspect's live-in girlfriend, we are still speaking with Miss Danley about the suspect's movements, gun purchases, and anything else we need to know about him and how he had planned his assault. And who he came in contact with during the planning phase. We have uncovered no evidence to show there was a second shooter. We have uncovered over 200 instances of the suspects traveling throughout Las Vegas, and he has never been seen with anyone else. We have no evidence or intelligence that the suspect was linked or had affiliation with any known terrorist groups or ideologies. In coordination with the FBI's Behavioral Analysis Unit, a comprehensive picture is being drawn as to the suspect's mental state, and currently we do not believe there is one particular event in the suspect's life for us to key on. We believe he decided to take the lives he did, and he had a very purposeful plan that he carried out. So where are we at with the property retrieval? As of yesterday, the personal effects of concert goers as well as items that belong to the victims are now being returned at the Family Assistance Center located at the Convention Center. They have located items from lots A, B, C, and D. They have placed them in those categories, and if you go to FBI.gov and click on the banner associated with the 1 October shooting, it will define which lots are being available as we speak. As far as I know from visiting there earlier today, lots A and B are available, and C and D are yet to be determined. First and most important is I want to say the FBI, the Red Cross, and City and County Fire are doing an amazing job. This is not an easy task to undertake, but their process is efficient. And even though we have been talking about the numbers of people who attended the concert and the number of victims injured or killed, you really don't understand the magnitude until you see the rows and tables of personal belongings that left behind as the people fled the venue. So moving forward, we anticipate being at the Route 91 site for at least another week, along with the room at the Mandalay Bay. As I've said from day one, we want to figure out the why to this, and we'd like to know the motive. That is our most important goal, to prevent any further action associated with another individual who is contemplating this, or what exactly went along in the suspect's mind to enable him to pull off such a complicated event. So moving forward, barring any critical information obtained during the week, the next press conference will be conducted at the end of the week, Friday. So at this point, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Sheriff
There's a
Chris,
deposition that came out today from 2013 that said you were taking Valium. Have you found any medications?
We have found some evidence of medications. I'm not at liberty to discuss that.
Can you tell us about the note? Was that to cause damage? What were those notes?
What note?
The note that was in the suspect's room.
There was not a note in the suspect's room. We recovered a document that had numbers associated to it, and I'm not at liberty to make a guess on what that was for. It could be. We're figuring that out.
Sheriff, also in the suspect's room, according to accounts we heard last night, there were drills. According to other accounts, the guard, Jesus Campos, heard drilling in the room. What drilling was done, and what do you think it was to accomplish?
So the question is, what drilling was done, or what was the intent of the suspect? There was drilling done. It was to the doorway, adjacent wall to the doorway, and just an assumption would be to either place a camera or to place a rifle.
Can I follow that?
But the drilling was not completed.
Did Officer Campos hear drilling?
Yes, he did.
How's Mr. Campos doing? You have any information?
Can I finish his question, sir?
And he knocked because of the drilling?
No. There's never been anything out in the public forum about knocking. He was investigating an open door. He became of the drilling sound.
Sheriff, what time exactly did Jesus Campos sustain, the injury? What timeline? What time exactly?
Bear with me while I get that for you.
And
Well, it's fairly simple for me to obtain. What was the question, ma'am?
Can I also ask, in the days?
What was the original question?
What time he got sustained the injury?
21:59. That would be 9:59.
Sheriff, that the gunman was practicing shooting before this incident that you know of?
No, I can't confirm that.
Sheriff, are you saying that, Sheriff, are you saying that the security guard was injured, Mr. Campos was injured at before 10 p.m. and the shots were then fired at 10 p.m. into the crowd? Is that what you're saying?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I don't know where you're getting your numbers, but you are correct. He was injured prior to the mass volley of shooting.
So to follow that, he's shot at just about 10 o'clock. The shots into the crowd begin at 10:05 and go on for, we said at one point 11 minutes, but 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
So can you give us what you think?
Okay, I don't want to get in. I appreciate what you're saying, Ken.
Receipts that have been obtained from the valet security system.
Ma'am, that's not how we conduct this service, okay?
It says that he checked
If
in
I'm
on the
presented with a
timeline
question,
changed? Because the FBI has reported that. he
that's
checked
not
on
how I
the-
conduct press conferences,
Well,
ma'am.
has the official timeline changed? Because
Please
this
stop
happened-
asking your question. There's a decorum that we have here, and I will finish Mr. Ritter's question.
Thank you. So if Officer Campos or security guard Campos was shot at just before 10 o'clock, and the shot's out the window, as you described them, there were
So let me help you with that, Ken, because you picked up on it. Yes, the timeline associated with the original shot and Mr. Campos has changed through investigation, as I have conveyed to you from the very beginning. And your zest for information and my zest to ensure the public safety and the calming of their minds is some things are going to change. Now, they are minute changes, okay? There's not this all-encompassing answer associated with the information that we presented before. In other words, it's not completely inaccurate. But what we have learned is Mr. Campos was encountered by the suspect prior to his shooting to the outside world. Yes, ma'am.
Sheriff, you referenced the comprehension profile that's being drawn up. Can you talk about what threads your department is looking at regarding the shooter's mental condition and how important that is to your investigation?
I'm sorry, I don't understand what you mean by thread.
Like what avenues are you guys going down looking at his mental?
Well, as you can imagine, anything that any mental health or medical help he's had throughout his life, we're attempting to obtain any and all information associated with that. Additionally, the behavioral analysis unit from the FBI is on the ground here locally, and we're attempting to utilize their expertise in discerning those matters. What I will provide with you is behavioral analysis is in LA also, Los Angeles, while interviews with Ms. Danley are being conducted. Great.
Do you have any idea why Mr. Campos was near that room when he got shot prior to the actual?
Yes, we had an alarm associated with an open door. It was not the suspect's open door, it was another one.
Fair.
Yes.
Were there any other writings discovered in the room, either numbers or otherwise?
I'm not aware of any. I personally am not aware of any.
Sheriff, were there any diagnoses that he had that you can share? Anything about his? You talked the medical thing as part of the investigation. Is there anything he was diagnosed with or was taken that you can comment on?
Say that again, I'm sorry.
Was he diagnosed with any conditions or was he taking any?
No,
medications or
we don't have a
anything about-
complete comprehensive evaluation of his mental condition. We will provide that as we become aware of it.
Sir, so after Mr. Campos was shot, before the mass shooting happened, did he alert security? Did they know? I'm just wondering if there's was any delay in his reporting or?
No, he immediately upon being injured notified security of his situation. In close proximity of Mr. Campos being shot, there was also a maintenance worker that presented himself on the 32nd floor, and Mr. Campos prevented him from receiving any injuries.
Sheriff, do you think the suspect's engagement with Mr. Campos maybe sped up the timeline of the shooter?
I would not make that assumption. I'm not privy to that.
There's actually two questions.
What was Mr. Paddock doing before the shooting? Is there any evidence like he was gambling that same night, or do you have any video evidence of what he was doing?
We have a pretty comprehensive timeline prior to the shooting, but more importantly, it's up in the public forum. He was gambling the night before. I do not want to disclose his actions up to the shooting because that's part of the investigation.
To end Mr. Paddock's actions, what caused him to stop shooting out the window? Do we know?
We do not know at this point.
And then to follow, you have said earlier you believe he had an escape plan. Do you still think that?
Yeah, I mean, that's been a matter of discussion out there, whether what I said is accurate or not, and what I am comfortable with saying is what I believe. Mr. Campos, or not Mr. Campos, I'm sorry, the suspect, I don't want to say the suspect's name, I will call him the suspect. We know that he attempted to shoot at the fuel tanks. We know that he had some personal protection equipment in the room. We know that the car that was down in the parking garage still contained binary explosives. So I would be comfortable in saying, which I believe, depending on the splash he made during the shooting, would it enable the first responders to be directing their attention in other locations, which would enable Mr. Paddock to just leave the hotel. And we do not know whether he had planned to cause additional harm outside of what occurred at Mandalay Bay.
Was there ever a trigger mechanism found that would have led to the car?
A trigger mechanism.
We talked about finding electronics in the room. We talked about
Oh, you mean something that would no, the explosives were not set up in order to detonate with a trigger.
So, Sheriff, is it your belief?
Yes, ma'am.
Did the security guard, and when did the police know that the security guard was shot? Before the gunshots at 10:05 p.m. or only after the active shooting began?
They weren't aware of him being shot until they met him in the hallway after exiting the elevator.
Sheriff, when did he check into the
What
hotel?
medication?
And what date did he check into the hotel?
Best of my recollection, we have information on the 25th. I had told you previously the 28th. We're trying to confirm his actions between the 25th and the 28th. I'm under the belief that he was not occupying the room between those days.
What medication specifically was he taking?
I already said that, ma'am. I can't answer that question now.
Can you address specifically, you said that you don't want to say the suspect's name, can you just briefly talk about why that is?
Why? Because I don't want to sensationalize his actions. I believe if he doesn't have a name, nobody can relate to him.
Sheriff?
Yes, sir, in the back.
In recent days, we've heard reports about cell phones found
Aaron, do you have that information?
I don't think it's prudent to give that out.
Okay, no, we don't have that number. I don't know the number personally.
Sheriff, you mentioned that something about how you had observed his movements over 200 times in the valley. Can you talk about where he was going, what he was doing?
No, I can't reach. I wish I could give you a comprehensive timeline and his movements. That would assist us in developing possible witnesses, but we're still running that down. It's still a really comprehensive evaluation of all the electronic equipment associated with this individual, and that's going to take quite some time. What I am proud of is how far we've gotten to this point. And yes, I'm frustrated. If you look in the public media, the perception that I am frustrated at the speed of this investigation, yes, I am. It isn't because nobody is not doing their job. It's because this individual purposely hid his actions leading up to this event, and it is difficult for us to find the answers to those actions. And that's why it's important for you to give me some deference, the FBI some deference, and the police department some deference to the ability to run out these leads. Now, I have noticed in the public forum several assumptions, unconfirmed statements, and actions of this individual put out there, and it makes it very difficult for us to follow the leads that we currently have when we're trying to chase our tail in other directions. And I have said this to you before. I appreciate all your help. You're a force multiplier for us because there's a lot of hidden pieces to this puzzle, but there's also a happy medium associated with that. And I will answer Mr. Ritter's question. That will be the last question.
That's a lot of questions. I know you've got questions. We learned yesterday that the FBI went again to the Mesquite house. Did the FBI also go back to Reno, that house there, and the vehicles? Are we recombing? Perhaps you can tell us if we're recombing evidence.
Yes, we are. The question was, is the FBI, along with LVMPD, revisiting the crimes or the personal property of the suspect? Yes, that is accurate. Along with the behavioral analysis detectives, they are also present, and maybe we can discern some additional evidence as a result of that revisit. Okay, thank you very much. And like I said previously, we anticipate the next press conference to be Friday. Barring any key evidence that we become aware of, we'll plan on Friday. Thank you very much.